ජීවිතේ වැඩිපුර ලැබෙන හොඳම දේවල් විඳින්න. දැන් SLT broadband වෙතින් 75% දක්වා වැඩිපුර data සතුට ජනවාරි 1 වෙනිදා සිට ශ්‍රී ලංකා ටෙලිකොම්.
Making headlines first at 9. The final journey. Last rites of Venerable Professor Bellamvilla Vimalaratana Thera conducted. Also making headlines tonight, People's Franchise Chairman of the Election Commission warns that attempts to evade election duties will be met with punishment. Monitoring bodies have special advice for voters.
The voters need to mark only on their political party.
Free to go, former ambassador to Russia Dr. Udayanga Veeratunga claims that Interpol released him. Time for calm. Political parties hold their final rallies, seeking mandate to govern local bodies. In news overseas, incarceration, former Prime Minister of Bangladesh Khaleda Zia sentenced to jail. Good evening. As the nation mourned the final rites of late Venerable Professor Bellamvilla Vimalaratana Thera was held with full state honours this afternoon at the Sri Jayawardenepura University grounds. A considerable representation of the Mahasangha and other religious clergy, as well as artists and politicians, were present today to pay their last respects to the late Thera. The remains of Venerable Professor Bellamvilla Vimalaratana Thera was laid to rest at the Bellamvilla Raja Mahavihara over the last several days, and masses paid their last respects to the late Thera at the temple. The funeral cortege of the Venerable Thera commenced from the Bellamvilla temple and made its way to the Sri Jayawardenepura University grounds. The cremation ceremony commenced at around 3 in the afternoon with the participation of the Mahasangha, other religious clergy, President Maithripala Sirisena, Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe, Speaker of Parliament Karu Jayasuriya and former President Mahinda Rajapaksa.
Imani matakavatthani bhikkhu sanghassa dema indisagarang evameva Deshapalana Baleta.
Bellamvilla Nayaka Thera wasn't subdued by money or political powers and had the personality befitting a bhikkhu. We pay special tribute to Bellamvilla Nayaka Thera for his tendency towards a religious life and bravery. That's why we have to say that the demise of the Thera is a great loss for the country. We appreciate the service done by the Thera for the Sasana, society and the country. He did not subscribe to any political ideologies and worked independently while putting forth his ideas for any head of state without any fear. He not only fashioned the society on Buddhist philosophy but also presented his ideas impartially. I end my speech wishing him Nibbana on behalf of the people of the country and the government.
Venerable Professor Bellamvilla Vimalaratana Thera took his final journey at around 6 in the evening. May he attain Nibbana. And we move on to other local news making headlines tonight. Sri Lanka's former ambassador to Russia, Dr. Udayanga Veeratunga, says that he was released by Interpol as there were no international charges or a red notice issued against him. Dr. Veeratunga made the revelation on his Facebook account this afternoon. An international arrest warrant was issued by the Fort Magistrate in the month of October in 2016 as the Police Financial Crimes Investigation Division is conducting a probe into the former ambassador pertaining to financial misappropriation over the MiG aircraft deal. He was detained by Interpol for questioning on the 4th in Dubai while in transit to the United States. Dr. Veeratunga went on to say on Facebook that he does not intend to return to the country anytime soon due to political vengeance exercised against him by the government and sees this as an opportune moment to file an international compensation case against the Sri Lankan police.
They eventually realized that a person with an Interpol blue warrant can't be arrested and all they can do is to question the whereabouts and other information. I must say that those officers fulfilled their responsibility the best they could. They didn't attempt to change the law. They produced true facts about me to France and Sri Lanka and released me. But I saw in Sri Lankan media that they are going to send an envoy to take me and that I'm under arrest. I should say that all of it is a lie.
In the meantime, when other Derana contacted the police media spokesperson over the matter, SP Ruwan Gunasekara said he is unaware of Dr. Udayanga Veeratunga being released. Furthermore, he said that in addition to the team of investigators who left the country for Dubai yesterday, another team is due to take off today. As the 2018 local authorities election is just around the corner, Sri Lankan citizens will cast their votes on the 10th of February for an election that is to be held under an electoral system which will be used for the first time in 41 years. We at Other Derana are bringing you an in-depth explanation of what the ward system is.
The upcoming local authorities election will be a new experience for Sri Lankan voters as it is a mixed system that consists of both the proportional representation and first-past-the-post systems. The preferential voting system, which was implemented through the 1978 Constitution, is nullified and votes should be cast for political parties as well as independent groups instead of voting for individual politicians. 43 accepted political parties and 222 independent groups will contest in 340 local authorities at this election. 8,352 members will officially be elected from 57,252 hopeful candidates. 15,760,867 voters are eligible to cast their votes on the 10th of February. Meanwhile, votes will not be counted on district basis this time around. Instead, votes of several electorates will be accumulated and counted simultaneously at a chosen polling centre. Thereafter, the results and the number of members that have been elected will be certified by the Election Commission.
There are certain positive things in this new electoral system. We as a voters, this is the first time we are getting our vote-based representative. And also, this is the first time we are getting women's quota. We will get a 25% quota for the new electoral system. And also, this is the first time we are exercising this counting at the same the polling stations. We have noticed that elections violence also reduce with the new electoral system. This system is a little bit complicated, but on the elections day, voting is so simple. The voters need to mark only on their political party. With this voting, first past the post system, candidate whoever nominated by the party or independent group, those who get the simple majority will get elected. The proportionate system will calculate at one center in each and every local authorities area. Each and every party will get a proportional representations based on their valid vote end of the day. Main negative factor is that we don't get a chance to select our member. We can select only on the political parties.
Meanwhile, Other Derana witnessed that candidates representing various electorates across the island continuing to engage in propaganda campaign activities, exhibiting posters and banners despite the ongoing cooling-off period. However, our reporters on the ground later confirmed that these banners and posters were removed by the intervention of the police. Meanwhile, election monitoring teams from India, Indonesia, South Korea and the Maldives met the chairman of the Election Commission, Mahinda Deshapriya, today. The ballot boxes to be distributed within the Colombo district were also readied by officials of the Election Commission today. In the meantime, convening a media briefing today, Chairman of the Election Commission, Mahinda Deshapriya, said that they had received information of certain officials deployed for election duty attempting to evade their responsibilities. The Chairman of the Election Commission warned that action will be taken against any such official as per the powers vested on the Commission by the Constitution.
Well, political parties concluded their final election rallies ahead of February 10th. President Maithripala Sirisena said he is not ready to continue governing the country with corrupt politicians. The president made the remark addressing the final election rally of the Sri Lanka Freedom Party in Polonnaruwa yesterday. The final public rally of the Sri Lanka Freedom Party aiming the local authorities election was held in Kaduruwela, Polonnaruwa under the patronage of party chairman, President Maithripala Sirisena.
I left our own government led by Mahinda Rajapaksa in 2014 due to fraud, corruption, wastage, nepotism and dictatorship. I left the government because I wanted to govern the country with a good government. I was amazed when I took office. I saw what was happening here. I decided that I am not ready to continue governing the country with anyone involved in corruption. I will not let anyone in my government engage in corrupt activities, and I reiterate that I will not hesitate to take stern action against them. I will protect this country. I will not let anyone divide the nation. I will protect my motherland with my life.
And Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe said that government is focused on constructing 50,000 housing units in and around Colombo. The Premier made the remark addressing the final campaign rally of the United National Party organised ahead of the local authorities election. The UNP held its final campaign rally ahead of the upcoming local authorities election in Grand Pass in central Colombo yesterday. It was held under the patronage of Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe.
We didn't see any murders or any cases of vandalism during this election period. It was the UNP which gave the value to the vote of the citizens. Supreme Court has given many rulings against the government, but we have to hold on to this freedom. But freedom alone is not enough. We also need development. Some of the biggest problems are water supply and housing. We are acquiring funds to construct 50,000 flats in the Colombo and its vicinity. We faced difficult times when stabilizing the economy. If we are to protect our achievements, I ask all UNP supporters to cast their votes on the 10th of February.
Meanwhile, former President Mahinda Rajapaksa pledges to make the country a haven and calls on people to give their mandate once again. While addressing the final public rally of the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna in Homagama yesterday, the former head of state said the country was degenerated. The final public rally of the election propaganda campaign of the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna was worked off in Homagama yesterday with the participation of party leaders of affiliate parties to the SLPP as well as other members. The rally was conducted with the patronage of former President Mahinda Rajapaksa.
The country was developed by us by reducing unemployment and increasing state sector employment to 1.5 million. But that country is now strewn with heaps of garbage and smells foul. More than 1,500 patients died from dengue for the first time in history, and dengue patients were sent back home saying there isn't enough space. Since we ended the war and developed the country within 3 years after that, we will continue the process of making this country a haven if we're given power once more. use your vote against dividing the country and consider voting for the flower bud as a national necessity.
ඒක ජාතික අවශ්‍යතාවයක්. ඔබ සියලු දෙනාටම ජය වේවා. නෙළුම් පොට්ටුවට
Janata Vimukthi Peramuna leader parliamentarian Anura Kumara Dissanayake promises to launch a people's movement which is capable of bringing changes to the ruling powers of the country. Addressing the final public rally of the party in Maharagama last evening, the parliamentarian said the process towards this end will be put in motion with the strengthening of the JVP. The final rally of the JVP, geared towards the upcoming local authorities election, was held in Maharagama with the attendance of a number of artists and intellectuals.
The loss incurred by the Sri Lankan Airlines during the last 10 years is 125 billion rupees. That amount equals to the income of the Maharagama Urban Council across 125 years. President Maithripala Sirisena uses 2 helicopters for just one journey. That's how they indulge power. The Prime Minister imports cars to the tune of 300 million rupees. Basil Rajapaksa spent 320 million rupees as airfare over 4 years. Shiranthi Rajapaksa was in a Paris hotel for one night and the bill was over 16 million rupees. I heard that the Queen of England visited the same hotel and refused to stay there due to its high charges. Farmers are committing suicide as they cannot settle their loans. Mothers are throwing their children into River Nilvala as they cannot feed them. Patients suffer at the cancer hospital as they cannot afford much-needed medicine. Therefore, we have to change this system. I appeal to you to vote for the bell and assure the victory of the JVP.
Sri Lanka's premier news channel, Derana 24/7.
Welcome back. The Government Medical Officers Association today requested all parliamentarians to vote against the decision to reduce minimum standards for medical education in government universities. Addressing a media briefing today, GMOA's Assistant Secretary Dr. Naveen D'Souza said that the power to make a decision on the minimum qualification should be or should lie with the Sri Lanka Medical Council.
So the GMO Executive Committee had a meeting today. They had a lengthy discussion about the minimum standards document which was gazetted by according to the Sri Lanka Medical Council sources. It's very clear the cabinet had decided to reduce the minimum standards as their decision, but unfortunately the Sri Lanka Medical Council has the sole authority to decide what is the minimum standard about the medical education. At the last meeting in the Sri Lanka Medical Council, we decided to convey this message and the displeasure about the decision of the cabinet to His Excellency and the Prime Minister as well as the Speaker. So the Registrar of the Medical Council had Speaker and to the HE as well as the Prime Minister regarding this decision. So we urgently request to all the parliamentarians to defeat this gazette in the parliament when it comes to the debate. The other thing is the medical ordinance very clearly stated that the power of the maintaining the medical standards is by the Sri Lanka Medical Council. So the GMO Executive Committee decided to meet all the party leaders in the country and discuss about this matter and protest against the cabinet decision to gazette the minimum standards by lowering the standards of the medical education.
Monash University's World Mosquito Programme joined hands with Sri Lanka following the signing of a collaboration agreement to control the rapidly spreading dengue virus in the country. The cooperation agreement was signed by Secretary to the Ministry of Health, Janaka Sukatadasa, and Australian High Commissioner in Sri Lanka, Bryce Hutchison, yesterday in Colombo.
The epidemiology unit of the Health Ministry recorded over 7,000 dengue patients island-wide, while the Colombo district leads the list with 1,159 patients for the month of January alone. With 8 days past in February, the ministry also recorded over 1,000 patients island-wide. In this backdrop, the self-sustaining program, which is already implemented in several countries, marks the official launch in Sri Lanka.
This project will be implemented in 3 selected localities in Colombo district on pilot basis during the next 2 years, expecting that outcome of this would bring a concrete solution to Sri Lanka's dengue problem.
This research partnership was foreshadowed when Australian Foreign Minister Julie Bishop was in Sri Lanka in July of last year. Foreign Minister Bishop announced at that time the partnership and a pledge of $1 million Australian dollars to take the program here in Sri Lanka forward. This is a genuinely international program.
The intention is for the wild mosquito, Aedes mosquito, which spreads dengue in the country, to be reared in the lab, and subsequently a bacterium which holds the transmission of dengue virus into human is to be introduced into this mosquito. There will be a natural reduction of the transmission of dengue virus in the community.
Still in local news, a fire broke out at the open-air section of a factory manufacturing rubber products in the area of Boghagode in Galle at around noon today. The fire was brought under control with the assistance of the Galle Municipal Council, Fire Brigade, as well as the police and security forces personnel. Strong winds had helped the flames spread to a nearby building of the factory, destroying all equipment inside. The fire had gotten hold of rubber products, including tires stacked outside in the open-air section. And we take a look at a few other stories making news from across Sri Lanka.
Local potato farmers claim that they are affected by the importation of potatoes. They say that this situation has made it difficult to sell their crop. 2 suspects in possession of around 12 tortoises was arrested by Palema police. Police said the tortoises were handed over to the Karulagaswawa Wildlife Department to be released into the Vilpattu National Park in line with an order of the Anamaduwa magistrate Janani S. Wijetunga. An 11-foot python entered a house in Mahaladduwa in Watugedera this morning. Wildlife officers of Hikkaduwa caught the python and released it to the Kottava Conservation Forest in Galle.
In business news, the Colombo Stock Exchange recorded 4 billion rupees in net foreign purchasing during the month of January 2018, a new record for the first time or first month of any given year. The month recorded 10.7 billion rupees in foreign purchases in the market, while foreign investors made sales worth 6.7 billion rupees. The CSE says this was a record-breaking start to the year in terms of net foreign purchases. Head of Market Development at CSE, Niroshan Vijayasundara, commenting on this landmark achievement, said there are signs of the foreign investors' interest in the market continuing into this year. And he also said that the level of interest seen within a very first month of the year is quite encouraging and indicates that Sri Lankan stocks remain attractive to foreign portfolio investors, especially those with investment interests in frontier markets. And in business news again, chair of the International Conference on Apparel Industry, Professor Amrik Sohal, emphasizes that it is imperative for Sri Lanka to tap into its skills in the sector to move upwards in the value chain in the global industry. He made these remarks at the inauguration of the International Conference on Apparel Industry, attended by a number of regional stakeholders.
The International Conference on the Apparel Industry commenced yesterday, focusing on productivity improvement, disruptive innovation and leadership. Organised by the Monash University of Australia, the 3-day conference aimed to create a platform for researchers, practitioners and policymakers from around the world to focus various topics related to the sector.
Apparel sector has taken Sri Lanka to the global arena, and it has basically enriched lives of more than 300,000 to 600,000 direct employment. With these things of US 4,675, Sri Lanka is placed to become the hub of apparel in the Asia and also in the world with a 17% market share.
In January last year, I visited Sri Lanka. What I felt was that Sri Lankan industry was a little bit higher, further up the value chain than many other countries in this region. A mission for us, for this region, for the countries, including Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, India, and so on, to lift the apparel industry up the value chain, which means moving away from doing low-end manufacturing to doing much more in terms of design and development, adopting the latest technologies, being ready for the digital economy. And of course, to do all of that, we need to develop the right leadership skills and the right workforce skills and so on.
Sri Lankan shares rose to their highest close in 3 months today as foreign investors picked up blue chip stocks. The all-share price index ended 0.55 firmer at 6,542.90, its highest close since the 10th of November last year. Turnover was 1.33 billion rupees. We take a look at the stock market update now.
The market capitalization at the end of the day was 2,995.39 billion rupees. Today's foreign purchases were 587.17 million rupees and foreign sales were 194.34 million rupees. There were 6 crossings today and the crossing turnover was 253.8 million rupees.
And we take a look at the top stories making headlines in world news. We begin from Bangladesh. Bangladeshi opposition leader and former Prime Minister Khaleda Zia is sentenced to 5 years in jail for corruption. The verdict was read out in a court in Dhaka after police used tear gas to disperse thousands of her supporters.
72-year-old Khaleda Zia denies misusing international funds donated to a charitable children's trust. Bangladesh's Anti-Corruption Commission filed charges against Zia and 5 others, including her son, for allegedly stealing more than $260,000 from the Zia Orphanage Trust set up when she was Prime Minister. The sentence means she is barred from parliamentary polls due this year, and she said the charges were politically motivated. The case is one of dozens pending against Zia, who has been a rival of Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina for decades. The judge said, since the court has been able to prove the charges against her and considering her social and physical status, Zia has been sentenced to 5 years in jail. Zia's son, Tariq Rahman, was given 10 years in jail in absentia as he is in London. The same jail term was handed down to 4 of her aides.
And in the Maldives, the embattled president has sent envoys to friendly nations such as China, Pakistan and Saudi Arabia to brief them on a political crisis in the Indian Ocean nation that spurred the imposition of emergency. Abdullah Yameen left out key regional power India, which, along with the United States, Britain and the United Nations, condemned the imposition of emergency and the arrest of top judges whose ruling against Yameen touched off new instability.
The Maldives, best known for luxury tourist resorts, has become another arena of contest for India and China after it signed up for the Beijing's Belt and Road Initiative to build trade and transport links across Asia and beyond. India, which has had long-standing political and security ties to the islands, has sought to push back against China's expanding presence in the country of 400,000 people with a Muslim majority. Since the crisis erupted, Maldivian opposition leaders have urged New Delhi to intervene. According to a posting on his website late yesterday, Maldivian President Abdullah Yameen sent his Economic Development Minister to China, the Foreign Minister to Pakistan, and Farming and Fisheries Minister to Saudi Arabia. In the meantime, exiled former President of the Maldives, Mohammed Nasheed, accused authorities yesterday of mistreating a Supreme Court judge thrown into prison following the imposition of a state of emergency. Taking to Twitter, Nasheed said that 80-year-old former President Maumoon Abdul Gayoom, who was also arrested in the crackdown and sent to a prison island, has stopped eating.
You are watching Sri Lanka's award-winning news channel, Other Derana 24/7.
And in cricket, it's Sri Lanka versus Bangladesh after a batsman-dominated pitch in the first test match. The second, which kicked off today against Bangladesh, is already proving to be bowler-friendly. A total of 14 wickets fell on the first day for 278 runs, with Sri Lanka only managing 222 all out and Bangladesh ending the day on 56 for 4.
Sri Lanka won the toss and elected to bat first. Kusal Mendis began where he left off and posted 68 runs, but none of the other top or middle order batsmen could even come near that score. Sri Lanka soon found themselves at 105 for the loss of 5 wickets. Coming in at number 6, Roshan Silva put up some fight and posted 56. Dilruwan Perera also chipped in with 31 to help Sri Lanka drag themselves to 222 all out. Bangladesh's reply wasn't great shakes either, as they ended the day on 56 for 4, with Lytton Das unbeaten on 24. Tomorrow is the second day of the match.
And Sri Lankan paceman Lasith Malinga is recruited by Mumbai Indians as a bowling consultant for this year's edition of the Indian Premier League. Malinga, who is the highest wicket taker in the history of the IPL with 154 wickets, was a mainstay of the Mumbai Indians since 2009, and the player went unsold for the first time in this year's auction. Malinga, who has had a long-standing association with the franchise, will join the support staff headed by his former captain Mahela Jayawardene and comprising bowling coach Shane Bond, batting coach Robin Singh and newly appointed fielding coach James Pamond. This will be Malinga's first official mentoring role with any side. And we take a look at the weather update for this evening.
You are watching Sri Lanka's #1 news channel, Other Derana 24/7.
Good evening and welcome to Forecast First. Now, temperatures may vary between 19 to 29 degrees Celsius over the course of next 24 hours. Northern and northwestern provinces will experience some strong winds along with Trincomalee and Batticaloa districts, as well as the southern coastal belt tomorrow. Meanwhile, those who are in western, Sabaragamuwa, southern and central provinces will experience some light showers. Well, that's it from your weather center tonight. Up next is your city by city forecast.
And that's all from First at 9 at the Other Derana News Centre. But before we go, as usual, we'd like to leave you with some visuals. And we take you to our nation that is blessed with beautiful landscape and scenery. Beaches, vast expanses of paddy fields and tea plantations and cascading waterfalls are some of the sights to behold. Have a pleasant evening. Good night.
Bringing you the news and information 24 hours a day. This is Sri Lanka's premier news channel, Other Derana 24/7.